no, Detroit is not a bad city.
No, I hope that it comes back strong. And I think that the auto industry is poised to do it. And it looks like economically, the region itself could come back as well.
I was talking to Anish Chopra. You know, he works for President Obama. And I asked him, I said, you know, in China, in India, now the land is very expensive. And up here in certain locations, land is very cheap. How about bringing the outsourcing here? He said, I am working on that project. So hopefully we hear from Anish Chopra in the next couple of months where he says that he's bringing outsourcing companies to be located in the heart of the United States of America.
Let's turn the tide the other way.
That's right.
You know, folks, I read the story and I wasn't quite sure how to take it, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. So I will leave it to you to decide. But as you all know, schools in our country are struggling. And in fact, in some places, it's really tough to get the budget, the state budget, to give them any kind of funding at all for new books, for repairing schools. We certainly have that problem here in Washington, D.C. So schools are trying a radical new approach. You know, you've heard of these new kinds of branding schemes. For example, our stadiums. Look at FedEx Field. Look at Gillette Stadium. Look at Verizon Center, right? These are all branded.
Staples, yeah.
Staples Center. These are all basically companies that have lent their name to these arenas, and they've paid a hefty fee to do that.
Yeah.
Well, schools are embracing this same concept of basically taking branding and advertisement and putting it on their school buses, in the lockers at school, other places within the school to try to get some of this money to come in from the businesses. And in the businesses, you know, they think of it as an altruistic thing because they're helping the educational system in these state schools.
That's a good idea. For instance, saying Fairfax High School, they can say Melinda Gates High School.
Well, that could be one, or as you see here on the school bus, you know, it's a State Farm insurance ad on the side of a school bus. So, you know, this is going to start to become a little bit more popular because schools are just simply desperate for this kind of funding. You know, this gets hairy because you have to decide ultimately there has to be some board out there that decides what kind of content, what kind of ad is appropriate to put inside of a school.
Instead of an ad, I would recommend them to say, okay, we'll pay for the whole fleet. Just carry our name. State Farm Transportation Services, you know.
You know, we are living in a time where these kinds of new measures are maybe becoming more popular and more mainstream. And at first you might balk at the idea, but if you sit and think about it, it makes perfect sense. Why not? I mean, if it helps bring these schools money, which they desperately need, which helps our education system, which helps our students in school, then let there be more ads.
I would say one more thing. If they can find the best of the students and put them in teaching instead of investment banking, I think that's where it will make a substantial difference in our education. I think that's what we need to do. We need to pay more for those good teachers.
This is a pretty hairy topic, though, because, you know, clearly you've got some school districts that are against this idea. For example, the San Diego School District recently rejected its first potential advertiser, which is a for-profit college. Now, in that case, you know, they didn't feel that the alignment of the college was right with the school district. But I think this trend is going to start to grow and appear across the country, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing.
You know, I want to tell you, here at Darshan Street, we don't mind if right behind us where you see the flags and the other things, I don't mind if it says New York Life Insurance or State Farm Life Insurance or any other company that may want to support us, you know.
Well, speaking of clever ad campaigns, I read this in the Wall Street Journal, folks. Very interesting. You know, for years, girls' dolls have been, about 12 inches high. You think of the Barbie doll. Right. You think about other dolls, and they've been fairly small. Well, the fact is, most girls outgrow those dolls pretty quickly because, well, they become a lot taller than the dolls.
Yeah.
So to solve this problem, doll makers have decided to come up with a radical new idea, which is basically to make their dolls bigger. Basically, these manufacturers are going to grow their doll size from about 12 inches to 18 inches or higher because they believe that girls would play with them longer. You know, research...
They consider them friends. You know.
Exactly. Research has showed these advertisers that girls see large-sized dolls as someone they can relate to and identify with, and to go shopping and live out adventures with. And if the doll is much smaller than they are, they can't relate to the doll anymore. So by having a bigger doll, she becomes a friend as opposed to A doll.
I want to tell you, there is another message in there, which is that boys will start playing with long, tall dolls. But I want to tell you, there's one good thing that I see from it also. When you have a little toy, you sort of mangle it and, disfigure it and all. But when it's tall, you have respect for it. And I think that might help the little children in growing not so violent.
Maybe. I guess so. I mean, the fact is they're basically targeting older girls for these dolls as opposed to the 3 to 5 to 6-year-old bracket. They're going after 7 to 13-year-olds, between 7 and 13-year-olds. So that's, a different age bracket altogether. But, dolls are kind of supposed to be cute. I don't know. If a doll is as big as I am, that might scare me a little bit.
I don't know. That's on the market for sale, too, by the way.
And, folks, coming up next is an interview with two of the co-chairs from SALTEF. This is the South Asian Literary Theater Arts Festival, which will take place next Saturday on November the 13th. So please stay tuned.
Well, folks, we are in the middle of Diwali festival. Religious part was yesterday, and the festivities are over the weekend. We sincerely hope you have a wonderful Diwali festivities. Namaste.
Namaste.